One of the things that we can definitely guarantee in business, and that is things will change. Now, sometimes those changes are actually facilitated or dictated by you, and then sometimes those are facilitated or dictated by market conditions. However, when these changes take place in our businesses, we have to decide, are we still serving the same person? And today's video, we're going to talk about updating your ideal client profile, particularly when you've made shifts or pivots in your business. I'm Dr. Nadia, founder of the Doyen Agency and creator of Straight Talk About Sales. Tune in. Over the years, my business has definitely seen its fair share of changes. And again, sometimes those changes were facilitated by just me growing as a person, as a business owner, and just kind of figuring out my groove. When I first started, I had very limited view of what I wanted to accomplish or who I wanted to work with, and etc. But then as time changed and things went on, I was like, oh, I think I want to do this. Well, it doesn't matter. One of the things for sure is that things will change in your business. I can guarantee it. And again, whether you're like myself, where a lot of times those changes have actually been facilitated internally, or there are those external market conditions, can we just say a few years ago, that may dictate the need to make some shifts, pivots in our businesses in order for us to continue to do the work that we do. However, in that, sometimes it means that we need to look at, are we working with the same people? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. I think back at, we celebrate as the Doyen Agency 5 years this year. But when I made the decision to make that shift in my business, along with that shift also came a shift in the ideal client profile. And so that's why this week's video is titled Call Me Maybe, because I quickly realized as I was going through that process is that the women that I worked with before we made the shift, when we were doing a leadership institute into the Doyen Agency, was that we did not work with our clients in the same way, but more importantly, we didn't work with the same clients. So prior to this shift, I work with women business owners, women executive leaders, and many of them were in a role within corporate and they were looking to shift out of it, or they were, making some career shifts and those sorts of things. So that was kind of our sweet spot at that moment. And we offered a lot of training and coaching. Fabulous. And then I worked with my counsel at the time and we were like, I have a vision for something different that not only allowed me to work with clients in a different way, but it actually allowed me to more fully embrace and incorporate some different skills that I had incorporated and learned over the years on my own entrepreneurial journey. And so we had this vision of creating this agency, although I didn't call it an agency at the time. And I remember talking to my counsel and being like, I have this vision, but it's not all quite coming together, right? And I knew that I wanted to do something other than coaching, because I had to learn to honor me. And Nadia is really good at a lot of things. And while I can coach, I am definitely not the best person, I feel, to lead that for a long period of time. Like, it just needs to be a lot more consistent, precise and short. And so that was part of the thing, that we were working on as we were working on just really helping me to get that clarity around what we offered. And so I remember as we're having one of our meetings and we're just kind of going through this creative process and just thinking, I was like, wait a second. I work with these women in this way, adore them. Many of them, we still have relationships, but this is this way. Like, we went from offering coaching and training to, at that time, I'll have one offer, and that was done for you sales support. That was it. And it went from working with women who were thinking about or creating or transitioning into a business to women, mostly women. We did work with a few men that were already in business and we're looking for a way to actually amp up their sales and take their revenue goals to another level, but also had the support, the infrastructure, the offer, there were like a lot of things that needed to already be in place that did not exist at the time for those clients that were now over here like, wait a second, who is this? So there are a couple things that we needed to do, but more importantly, it was like, wait, Nadia needs to really understand that, hold up, the person that you worked with over here in this way is not the same person that you're working with over here. And why is this so important? So glad you asked. Because everything, when you think about how you have sales conversations to your offers, they all matter when you're thinking about who it is that you're going after. And so today we're just going to look at a couple different things. Like, is it time to update your ideal client profile? Now, many of us made some different shifts over the past couple of years. Some were dictated by what was going on in the world. Others were dictated by what's going on in our personal lives, or just, I just want to do something different, or I don't want to do this anymore, right? Like we just wake up, we're just like, I don't, oh, that's just me. Anyway, so with that though, we have to look at, is my ideal client profile the same? Because sometimes when I talk to prospects or even new clients and they're like, I'm doing this, like I'm doing the things, I'm running the ads, I'm speaking, I'm getting these leads, I'm having sales conversations, but they don't seem to land, and I'm not closing clients, or I'm not closing the clients I desire to close, then we got to start looking at a couple different things. And with that, a lot of times it's like, who are you talking to, right? So when you think about your ideal client profile, number one is I want you to take a moment and evaluate, like really sit down and think about who that person is. Is it like, for me, these women over here in column A that were in roles transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship, they were on a very different journey and trajectory versus client B, profile B, if you will, that was already in business, been doing this a while, really looking to grow and scale. Now they're wanting and needing to have someone really support them from a sales perspective or point of view. Can you see how if I were to offer what I offered for done for you sales support to client profile A, how that would have been like, girl, I don't even know what I'm selling. Like, how can you, like, that's just not going to work. It would have been frustrating for both parties if I sold anything at all. That's why it is so important to take time to do this. Is it right? And is this the right person? Being clear on that, because it definitely impacts your marketing. But of course, as we know, it trickles down through your system and it impacts your sales as well. The second thing is, once you are clear on that profile, then you want to get clear on the words. What are the words that I am using? How do my ideal clients describe the challenge or the problem or the desire that they have? And how do I connect their words to the solution that I provide, so that in our marketing and in sales conversations, as I take them on that ideal client journey, that we're connecting, right? I'm touching and I'm discussing things, and they realize, like, wait a second, this person understands me. They get me. Like, I know, I love it when I'm in a sales conversation and I'm talking to someone and I'm asking questions and we're just kind of vibing. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, have you been a fly on the wall? Or how did you know I was thinking that? Or get out of my head, right? Like, those are things. And I love it because that is proof to me that I'm talking to the right people. Like, I actually get it. And I get excited because this takes time. You don't always nail it on the first go. And so when you start to have those conversations and you hear that more and more often, you're like, whoop, hallelujah, we got it, yes. So figuring out the words that you're going to use, because those words then translate, and like I said, in your marketing and your sales conversations and your emails and all of the things that you're putting out there, and you're really working to leverage in order to build that relationship and that connection with your ideal client. Like, they just show up, they're like, I don't know what you're selling. All I know is I want to work with you because I like you and you get me. Like, you get me. And you're like, yes, let's do it. And then the final thing, as you're evaluating your client profile, you're evaluating the aspects and, how you describe them, the words that you're going to use. But then that also helps decide the where, right? Where do I find these clients? Because then again, that may shift how you market or the activities that you do to get in front of your ideal client. So when I was over here, ideal client profile A, there were events and things that I attended, groups that I was a member of, because that got me connected and in relationship with this ideal client. When I shifted over to ideal client profile B, it was like, oh, that may or may not be the same. And it ended up not being the case. And so there were certain things that I decided to keep. There were certain things that I decided to not keep, to let go. And then there were things that differently that were implemented over here to help build a relationship, but to also let people know, like, hey, I know I did this, but now we do this. And this is how we help clients do that. And we're really excited about it. And so it not only may shift how you talk about your work, but it also may shift where you talk about your work. And all of this is really helping you to understand how to get qualified leads. When we talk about our consistent sales method, the big thing for me is qualified lead generation, because when you get that, when that part is so dialed in, honestly, the rest of the system is kind of easy. But that part sometimes is like, how and what are we doing? It's a lot of experimenting and figuring things out and conversations. And so when you really understand that, then having the conversations, having consistent conversations, making sure your pipeline is filled with the right people, like providing an excellent client, like all of that stuff is the easy stuff once you have that piece dialed in. And so I invite you to take some time, to take a moment to look at, I've made, especially if you've made some shifts, like there are things that I've been doing in my business. I may or may not be doing them in the exact same way, or even if you have the same offer. I'll share this story real quick. So I worked with a coach recently. Well, okay, maybe not so recent. It's almost been 6-8 months since we last worked together. But in that, as she's been getting more dialed in with her offers and the clients that she works with, she's really been dialing in who and the what. So her ideal client profile has shifted. So when I first met her several years ago and decided to hire her, she was like, you had to be at least 6 figures. So anyone that was making at least 6 figures could be in this particular program, one of the programs, the one that I was enrolled in. And I was like, okay, cool. But as she continued to grow and really get more dialed in, because let's be honest, there's a big difference between $100,000 and $999,999, right? Like there's a huge difference in the things that you deal with, how you get there, the challenges that you have. And so over the last couple of years, as I've watched her just grow her business and really dial in her own messaging, her ideal client profile has shifted. And so for her offer, same offer, she didn't change the offer, but she got more clear in evaluating her ideal client profile. And so now clients have to be at like 250 and above. So there's this chunk of folks that, yes, they do make 6 figures, but she just realized that they weren't necessarily the best fit. They weren't necessarily getting the type of results that she wanted them to get. It just wasn't necessarily just firing on all cylinders. And so you can see as she's kind of going through this, now she didn't fire all the clients that weren't there, right? Like, they're in, she's serving them, it's fine. But as you go through this process, you may decide to fire your clients, you may not. But it really helps because you can see the difference in how she talks about her work and who she's aiming to invite into her work, because she made the shift in her ideal client profile, which now means her leads are going to look a little different. Not all, but some, like those bottom ones fell off or will fall off. And now she can get and have more conversation with the people she really wants to serve in that program. And so that is why this is so important. So set aside some time to evaluate your ideal client profile, get clear on the words, get clear on the where, because now you know the who. And in that, it will definitely make a huge difference on your sales conversations, your confidence, your close ratio, like everything is going to shift. And if you're like, Dr. Nadia, all that sounds beautiful, and I still need some help, fabulous. We would love the opportunity to serve you and helping you really dial that in. We invite you to join us at our next Tighten Up Your Sales Game training. We spend half a day together going through a lot of these different pieces with you to help you get the words to where and just kind of get some clarity around like how you're going to do this as you pull together your sales system. Head on over to tightenupyoursalesgame.com for more information and to reserve your seat. All right, this is Dr. Nadia. Call me maybe. I'll see you again soon. Signing off. Bye-bye.